Welcome everyone. In today's video I'm going to be doing a lap guide with the crossbow around Dragon Trail Reverse. This was a daily race on the 23rd of January, very good fun combo, and it was probably my proudest day on Gran Turismo Sport because for the first time I managed to get 9th on the top 10 All-Stars leaderboard by the end of the day. So I was very happy with my lap and I felt like for once I could actually show you guys a lap that was, you know, genuinely quite a good and quick lap, and hopefully you guys can learn something from it and just find it enjoyable. So here it is. Okay, so to start with, of course you want to get a nice good run out of that last chicane, although it doesn't matter greatly because the start finish line is so far away. As you come to this first corner, what you're going to be looking for is the curbs on the right hand side, and it actually seems like there's a few different ways to take this. In this particular lap I started braking just where the first white stripe on the right hand side is, but I did take this several times braking a little bit earlier, so just before where that darker bit sort of stretches out towards you, sort of braking a bit further back. And I think actually that might be slightly better. It means you can just get on the accelerator a little bit earlier when you get down to the corner. You're going to brake and you're just going to shift down very quickly to get the engine braking. The engine braking on the rev limiter actually seemed to slow the car down quite considerably, so it is really worth doing that rather than leaving your shifts just to kind of the regular timing. Then the really important bit, now that we're down at the bottom, is that you kind of trail brake into the corner, so just slowly release the brake and that'll just help the car rotate around into the corner. This is like a true got a really nice MR feel, so it really likes to rotate sort of around that center of gravity. So you want to slowly let off the brake, and as soon as the car is basically pointing in towards the apex there, you want to get on the throttle, and it's super important that you get on the throttle just really early. The earlier you can get on it, the faster your exit here is going to be, and it's going to make a big impact on your lap time. And that's actually going to be a theme for pretty much all of the corners, is the exit speed is really important, almost more so than, you know, the entries in all of these. And then as soon as you can, you're going to go from a bit of throttle to full throttle, and I actually did this corner about a tenth or so quicker several tries after, so that wasn't that absolute optimum, but as you accelerate out here, you're going to come and get a nice good bit of speed down the straight, and you want to hug this right hand side as close as you can. Okay, so now we're approaching what's probably the riskiest part of the course, and I've spoken a bit about this chicane before, but I actually prefer it coming from this direction, so that's good for me. My kind of thing to look out for was the curbs here on the right hand side. So as you approach the curbs on the right, you're going to stick right up against them, and that's going to be around about where you're going to turn in. So you're going to start turning in, and what's weird about this is, to me at least, there's a real knack to doing this. You just have to practice it. I was doing some races and doing okay, finishing sort of second, third, that sort of thing, having some good races, but I hadn't figured it out, so I was going quite slowly and making some mistakes and things like that. But then it just suddenly clicked and I got it, and then after that I could do it like every time really quickly. So it's kind of weird. As soon as I hit that curb on the right hand side, I'm going to turn in and I'm going to turn the wheel more than what seems right, and then what's weird is you want to sustain that left hand turn again longer than what seems like you should do. So as you approach in here, you're going to hit the apex, and it's only once you've hit that apex that you start turning right. And I don't know why, but it kind of almost feels unnatural to me. Like it felt like I needed to be turning earlier, but if you turn earlier, you're much more likely to clip the wall on the right hand side. So you want to really almost turn left until you're past the point of that first apex, and then switch to the right hand side. Once you're through there as well, you can just let off the throttle, and the more you practice this, the less you can let off. So I did actually get to a point a bit further on where I was basically going through almost full throttle, just with a tiny release of the accelerator, but you can get this down really fast. And as you can see, then you're going to go to the right hand side and just a really nice smooth exit, and you're going to stay in 5th gear. As you can see, I've just paused it here, and I've come through at about 115 miles an hour. And I think the best I came through there was about 118. And what's incredible is the difference that it makes. This is like one of the most important points in the track. Like the reason why the top 10 leaderboards has got a delta of like, I don't know, 6/10 or something is because of this section here. and you can gain like easily a couple of tenths from a really good lap just by increasing the speed through there by 1 or 2 miles an hour. So it is really important to try and get this bit nice and nailed. Okay, we're going to carry on, and you just want to nice and smoothly exit out of those so you can go over the curbs on both sides there. Okay, so as we come now, this is the next tight hairpin to the left before we go up the hill. And again, very important corner here, because it's an uphill section, the car is going to struggle to accelerate. So you want to get the absolute best exit that you can, otherwise it's going to have a big effect on your lap time. It's a tricky braking zone, this, because it's a late turn in and it's very tight and it tightens a lot. I was sort of braking about halfway between the 100 and the 50 meter board, and it does depend on how quickly you come through the chicane. If you come through it slightly slower, you can brake slightly further into this braking zone. If you come through it really fast, then you will have to brake slightly sooner. So I was braking just by the 50, just a bit before. And to stop yourself going wide here, because you want to stay wide as possible so that you can take this tight left. If you enter into the corner too far to the left, which is what feels safe, you'll get a really slow exit. So you want to be as wide as possible, but you've got this gravelly asphalt section on the right, which doesn't have much grip. So if you go too far to the right, you'll obviously hit that and you're going to lose some time. So you want to sort of aim towards the back of the corner, and then as you're approaching it, just lift the brake off slightly and let the car turn into the corner. You almost want to trail brake it around the outside of the corner until you can see that apex there, and you're going to just come off the brakes, let the car rotate in and get on the throttle again as early as you possibly can. And again, even in this lap, I could have got on there much earlier, and in successive laps I was able to save a bit of time doing that. So as early as you can, onto the throttle, and we're going to go up the hill and onto the top. Okay, so once you're on the top, you should be in 5th gear, and my turn-in marker, again, this is a tricky one, although a more gentle section of the course, so you can kind of relax a bit after this, I found, is got a blind right-hander. So this is probably the trickiest one, just because you can't see the apex of the turn. But I start my turn-in pretty much where that 50 board is, staying in 5th gear, and you just want to come over the curbs there. And I did just let off the throttle, but it's very doable to do that full throttle, and you just want to come across the right hand side, hit the curbs, and you want to be nice and wide for this left hander, which you want to, I found, shifting down to 4th, just letting off the throttle. I think I dabbed the brakes very slightly, but you can just lift off the throttle, don't need to brake, and turn in again. What feels earlier, if you leave the turn in too late here, you'll miss the apex, and it'll just affect the following turn to the right. So you want to make sure you get this on nice and early, as you see, and then coming in across the curbs on the left hand side lines you up nicely for the right hand side. And this was actually one of the weaker sections of my lap here. I kind of botched the left hander, which didn't put me in a great position for the right hander, and I came in almost too slowly to the right hander. I should have been on the throttle earlier, so my car turned in just a bit further than I wanted, and I ended up just touching that grass section on the right hand side, which just slowed the car slightly, and again touching the grass very slightly on the left hand side as we exit, keeping it nice and straight. Again, cresting the hill here, I just kept it in 4th. There's really no point shifting to 5th. You'll actually lose a mile an hour if you shift to 5th because of coming up the hill. Keep it in 4th, and your braking marker for this is the very start of the curbstones, which is just after the 100 meter board. So you're going to brake, and you're going to want to keep the car nice and straight. Again, this is another one of these points where if you turn in too early, you're going to actually find that the car will turn in quite nicely because the weight's sort of pointing down onto those front wheels. So if you turn in too early, the car will really bite and turn left, and what you'll find is that there's a wall on the left hand side, so you can't really cut this corner at all. So you want to come straight down the hill, let off the brake, and as you let off the brake, let the car turn into the corner. And if you can get 2 wheels across that bit of curbstones on the left hand side, that's perfect. And then you want to end up with your right hand wheels on the curbs on the right hand side. And again, very important to get on the throttle as early as you can and put it into full throttle as soon as you can without losing the car. Of course, with all of these, it is important. You don't want the car to be becoming unbalanced, or you don't want to go sideways at all, because that will lose you time. So this is one of these laps where smooth is fast, as a saying, is really, really true. Like, if you can be smooth, you will be fast. It really is a nice and simple thing about that. staying nice and wide to the right. And my braking marker here, see, I see some people staying in 4th. I shifted up to 5th because I actually found it gained me a couple miles an hour. And I'm braking again where that first white stripe on the curbstones on the right hand side is. And I'm shifting down to 3rd. Again, let the engine brake. And you want to turn into the corner. I'm just going to pause it here. So you want to aim for your left wheels. I mean, weirdly, going into the sand on the left hand side doesn't actually affect your car too much. So it's not the worst thing in the world if you clip the sand, but what you want, if you can, is your left wheel is to be on the inside of the curbs on that red stuff, and it almost just sucks you round. The ledge on that curb will just pull the car round to the left, because you want to be as far to the left as you can see, as far to the left as you can, so that you can start your right-hand turn in, and you want to straight line this as much as possible. And again, this is a point in my lap here where I could have gained another 10th or so. If I had stayed left just a fraction more, and then turned in, I could have put the throttle down a bit earlier. But as we come into this right-hand apex, you want to just, again, let your right-hand wheels come across the red bit of the tarmac there, and just get, again, on the throttle as early as possible. You've got a long straight ahead of you here, so the earlier you can get on the throttle whilst keeping it, again, nice and stable, the better your lap time's going to be. So on the throttle is super early, and again, I could have been a little tighter to the right-hand side and gotten a quicker exit there, but never mind. And you're just going to keep that nice and smooth. They sort of end up in the middle of the track, and then it's just plain sailing from here to the end as we come in. And you'll see I get the 156.919. I think if I looked at the you can see your best lap deltas and stuff like that, like where the different sectors were stronger. And I think if I had gotten like my optimal lap, it would have been something like a 156.6, but I know even from there that I could have gotten another couple of tenths, but nevertheless I was very happy with that lap. Okay, so I'm going to just play it through for you guys now, just normal speed. I'm not going to talk anymore. So this is the lap, full speed. I'll put the volume on for this one, and I'm just going to leave it to run. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and if you're new here, you can subscribe to the channel for more GT Sport content.